guys? You are tuned into another episode of Generation Gap. I'm your host, Taylor J, and this week's topic of discussion is love. Let's see what our field reporter, Allison, has found out about online dating.
Hi guys, Allison Schumacher here. I'm at Stapleton Library and I'm talking to IUP students about their views about online dating. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, I think it's effective altogether. I mean, there's a lot of applications nowadays, so you can like meet people and go outside to find them.
I do not think it's effective. I would consider it rather superficial.
That's what's going on inside the IUP mind. Back to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Allison. At this time, I would like to have my panel introduce themselves, starting from my left to my right.
Hi, my name is Roxanne Gannon. I'm a nuclear medicine technology major. I am a junior here at IUP, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi, my name is Justin Welchel, and I am a business management major, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Tori Berletich. I am a communications media senior, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks, you guys. Well, it's no secret that traditional dating is becoming less traditional in 2015. Between the increase in social networking and even the media that we consume in our daily lives, our way of dating and even building on relationships has transitioned drastically, which leads me to my first topic, online dating and the perils involved. Would you personally get involved? Why or why not?
I personally wouldn't get into online dating because I'm more of a face-to-face type of person without a computer screen in the way. But it definitely is different by the person. You know, some people are more shy than others and more comfortable with other things. I just think it takes a lot of values away from the relationship.
I mean, I've definitely met people online, not who I've dated, but as friends, and it's definitely a different experience. But I don't think online dating is for me, if that's cliche. It's just not something that I'm terribly interested in. But I guess it is for some people, and I respect that.
I guess I'd have to agree with what everyone else has said. I personally probably wouldn't rely on online dating as a source for a long-lasting relationship. I would certainly, it would be something to use if you were in a long-distance relationship. So then you would, Skype each other or email each other if you're not readily available to talk to one another, like say you're in different time zones or something like that. But I don't think I personally would meet someone online and continue a relationship through simply online without any actual interpersonal reaction.
Right.
And I do think that mass media plays an effect in this because there's all sorts of like online dating stuff now that you can get into, and there's ads on TV about basically any online dating site you could want for any niche group that you could want. So I think it definitely plays a part, but I don't think it's the entire picture of online dating.
Right, right. I think online dating is a quicker way to get into a relationship because nowadays we are a lot more lazy, and we could definitely, find what we're attracted to better.
We tend to see a fair amount of negative depictions of online dating and fewer success stories. Do you believe that the media has played a role in making older generations more fearful of online dating?
I think it probably plays a role, but I think like the whole catfish thing, I think that's more of an outlier than like the norm. Like I know a lot of people use online dating apps, sites, whatever. And I don't think necessarily that everyone is being catfished.
Right.
So I think those are just really outliers, but at the same time, I mean, it's still not for me.
Right. I think that, it's great that they do have it at negative out there with catfish because it kind of gives parents a little information, that it could be harmful out there. But at the same time, it is actually positive too. I think we focus a lot too much on the negative in life with social media and media in general. I think we need to focus more on the positive aspects of it.
And I think online dating also gets a really negative stereotype of it being, a last resort sort of thing. Like that's for only desperate people, only older generations should meet online and then, get married that way. So I think that's another negative stereotype with it as well.
It has become very apparent that our generation uses more digital technology than any other generation. Has this played a role in making our generation more comfortable with online relationships?
Definitely. I think that it definitely adds, technology is good. We abuse technology at times because it takes away values in real life, face-to-face interactions, but it definitely helps out with long distance relationships and seeing, my best friend just traveled to France, and it's great that I can actually talk with him on FaceTime when he has Wi-Fi or Skyping. And if we didn't have that technology that we grew from to today, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I mean, I think it's really easy to tell if you're being catfished the first time you Skype with someone. Like, if it's them or not. Like, if you've seen their pictures, you know it's very clearly them or very clearly not. So I think that's really going to help dispel the whole, like, oh, catfishers are out there everywhere myth. And I do think it is helpful because, like, even if you can't see someone physically, you can still, like, look at them and talk to them and have conversations with them. So I think it's good. And I think it is a lot easier to sort of bring people closer together.
I feel like the FaceTime and Skype definitely helps out with social media. You get to see face-to-face, and it is a good aspect to social media.
At this time, we're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned because we have lots more to touch on.
Hi, my name is Maurice Daniels. Before we go to break, here's a trivia question. In Western cultures, what % of marriages occur before the age of 50? A, 65%, B, 15%, C, 90%, or D, people don't get married anymore? Find out when we come back.
Students in communications media at Indiana University of Pennsylvania can focus on a variety of areas, including media promotions. Our promotions students learn their skills by working in a hands-on environment, gaining real-world experience. They learn how to use media to promote, produce, and manage events, and how media organizations operate. They create promotional campaigns and help clients pitch their services, products, and events. With excellent classes led by experienced teachers, the Communications Media Department at IUP is perfect for students interested in media promotions.
Hello again. The answer to that last trivia question was C, 90%. Now back to Taylor.
Welcome back. Let's see what our field reporter Allison has for us on the topic of college romance.
Hi guys, Allison, still here at Stapleton Library talking to people. We already talked to people about online dating. Let's see what their opinions are on college romances.
I don't think they're worthwhile. I feel like you should be focusing on your career and schoolwork, and then you should worry about that after, once you're out in the real world.
I think they're worthwhile if the individuals are mature enough to nurture them properly.
And that's what students are thinking about college romances. Back to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Allison. Now for our first question. Can a relationship become a distraction between the ages of 18 and 25?
I would certainly say that dating can definitely be a distraction at such a crucial point in your time when you're like, it's going to sound cliche, but you're trying to find yourself. So I would say that it can be a distraction, but that's part of, the maturity of you being able to handle a relationship while also going to school at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really super hard to maintain a relationship and schoolwork and like after school activities and like all of that is really difficult. but I think it's also like messing that up is part of learning and like figuring out what you're actually trying to do and what you're trying to get out of whatever you're doing.
Right. I think it really depends on the person, you know. Everyone thinks differently, and depends on your relationships too. How many relationships do you have outside? Like, are you really social? You have a lot of friends and stuff like that. Like, do they demand a lot of time from you? And you know, maybe if you did have a steady relationship, that you could just focus on that one person instead of trying to find a bunch of other people and having that same conversation with that many people.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also important, I think, to not get too caught up in college relationships because, like, if you're graduating before that person or after that person, like, things are going to change. So
Right.
it's definitely going to be way different after you graduate, before you graduate, whatever.
Right.
So I don't think that finding one person and, like, dating them forever in college is necessarily a good goal.
Right.
I mean, it does vary person to person, but I have a friend who, she got married last year. She's a junior, and she's miserable. And she doesn't know what she's doing, and, like, all of her friends were like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. And so I really don't think that, like, dating should be the first priority when you're in college. It should be more about, like, getting good grades and
Right.
making friends and expanding your social circles.
I just think it all comes down to what you value in life. You know, if you value love a lot, that relationship might carry on, and that might be more important than you know, just yourself. You know, just meeting someone halfway in life and helping them and having them help you is great.
I recently heard that when in a relationship, you are ultimately responsible to always think for two. Could being in a committed relationship limit opportunities at this time in our lives?
I certainly do. I mean, but I'm a selfish person, and I don't think that a relationship should be like your end all be all. I think that a relationship with someone shouldn't be what deters you from getting that really great internship that's across the country. Your relationship shouldn't be keeping you with that person, because the tendency when you're in a relationship is to make decisions based around the other person as well. And so that's like, there are people who go to certain universities because their significant other will be in the same hometown. So I definitely think that relationships can limit your opportunities at a time in your life when this is a time full of opportunities for you, right?
Yeah, and I honestly think it's a bad idea. Like, if you want that internship, you go and get it. If they're not going to support you in that, maybe you shouldn't be talking to them anyway.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
It just doesn't seem worth it.
I think that was a great point. It is the time in our life right now where we need to find ourselves, and we need to find, you know, what we want to do in life, and what our passion is or our talents are in life. So it is a great idea to focus on ourselves right now. It just depends on every single person.
A huge part of having priorities is the responsibility to always put those priorities first. Should a student be more selfish at this time in their academic career?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, you have to live with you for the rest of your life. That person maybe doesn't. And especially if they're not willing to put up with what you want, and if you know what you want going and getting it, then they're not the person. It just seems like that's easy math.
You need to find someone that is going to grow towards your goals with you, and not bog you down, not bring you down. This is the time where you need to shine. So you need to find someone that maybe wants to shine with you.
Being in love certainly has its pros and its cons. Being young and in love sometimes has more cons than pros. How much would you say that our relationships influence our decisions at this age?
I think they're awful. Relationships make you make so many bad decisions. It's so true, and like, full disclosure, I just got out of a relationship. But I mean, you really need to be making decisions based on yourself, not on someone else. And I think a lot of people don't realize that nearly as much as, you know, they probably should.
Right, because you have to be a little bit selfish. You can't keep thinking of someone else because, like we've already said, this is the time in your life when you're trying to really find your identity. You're really trying to figure things out for yourself. This is the first time you're fully independent, and so you need to learn to make decisions for yourself and not for someone else.
Definitely, I would have to agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to know what you're going for, because if you're really intent on a romantic relationship, then yeah, that's fine. But if you want to have other things going on in your life, you really shouldn't expect to just have a romantic relationship.
Right. I feel like balance is something really key. So balance in everything is key to a relationship and relationships around you.
At this time, we are going to take another quick break. Please stay tuned in.
When I was in high school, I didn't know where I wanted to go to college. But I did know I wanted a major with job potential, and a campus that felt like the right place for me. I chose IUP. I'm studying on a beautiful campus with great professors who focus on student success and 140 academic majors. I'm Megan Spangler. I study nursing. Find your success at IUP.
Welcome to Ruffles My Feathers. This past weekend was Valentine's Day, so it's only right that we talk about love. It's not so much love that ruffles my feathers, it's Valentine's Day that is the issue. I don't like feeling like I'm forced to do something special on Valentine's Day. It shouldn't take a fake holiday to show someone that you love them. Anniversaries and birthdays, they're the only ones that really matter anyway. I also don't like how love seems to come with a price tag in our society. In elementary school, all it took was a simple card. But now it has to be some big, extravagant event. It's fine to spend money on your significant other, but now there's this perception that we always have to spend a lot to show that we care. Last but not least, this doesn't really ruffle my feathers, but it is a bit surprising. On Valentine's Day, there were plenty of photos of people coupled up or whatever. But on Monday and Wednesday, there weren't any Man Crush Mondays or Women Crush Wednesdays. Maybe they thought posting pictures of each other on Valentine's Day was enough. I don't want to see it regardless, but I just thought it was a little bit ironic. That's it for Ruffles My Feathers. I'm Maurice. Enjoy the rest of the show.
It's hard to explain. It just became home. There are hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes and faculty that really get to know you. Amazing internships and everywhere, programs that help to find a job that is right for you. It's what IUP is about, a commitment to your success. See it for yourself. Visit us, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Find your success.
Welcome back. Let's see what Allison has about divorce rates.
Hey guys, Allison here. We've talked to college students about online dating and college romances, but let's see what they think about today's current divorce rates.
I feel like it could be a result of like social media and applications for dating sites and stuff like that. I feel like it could interfere with marriages.
It does not. If I met the right woman, I think that would be enough for me to be convinced I want to be with her for good.
That's what our generation's been thinking. Let's see if we can bridge the gap. Back to you, Taylor.
Love sometimes comes with the reality of falling out of love with a person. And it can sometimes get complex, especially when children are involved. Is the happiness of both parents the key to a mentally stable and mentally healthy child?
Definitely. I really think that happiness is really key to child development because that could really affect how the child grows and is nurtured into the world and how that child will react in life.
I mean, excuse me, there are definitely people who raise children on their own, and that's commendable. And so I think if if it's not the right situation for the parents, then it's clearly not the right situation for their children. Like, if the parents are unhappy, and especially if it's an abusive relationship, they really just need to get out. And I think it's important for the child to know that as well.
Right.
And I think you're completely correct, because I mean, I was a child of divorce, and I like to think I grew up pretty well-rounded, and I think, you know, I don't think it really has affected my mental health in any way, but it definitely has for some people. But I think that's also other environmental concerns with that child too. It's not simply the divorce of the parent, because if there's an unhealthy marriage, I think the parent should do what's best for them, and the parent should break up or get divorced, because it's not healthy for a child to live in an environment that's toxic like that.
Right. Right. I feel like communication is really key with all relationships and everybody, but especially with your children, I feel like it's really good to communicate with them, but to put it at an easier level, and so it's not so upsetting, but so they understand and it's not a shock to them later on in life of what happened.
The desensitization to divorce can be viewed from either a negative or a positive viewpoint. Is there less pressure on married couples to make it work for the children in 2015?
What do you guys think?
I would say that there is less pressure, because nowadays, I think back then, the reason why a lot of people stayed together was because of religious reasons. And so now religion is not quite as central in the American mind. So the whole, the American concept of independence and individuality has really pushed forward in 2015 that if it's not healthy, if it's toxic, you should get out of it and you should do what's best for yourself.
And I think a lot of the reason that people didn't get divorced as early, like before, is partially because if a woman wanted to leave her husband, she would have nothing. Her kids would have nothing. She wouldn't have any sort of protection or a house or anything like that, because the husband was the main provider. So in a sense, there wasn't really an option to leave at that point. Whereas now we have a lot more freedom and people who are much more willing to, if you're in a bad situation, help you get out of it.
It's definitely easier to get out of a bad relationship today than it once was, because of changes in values. But you know, it's still hard on the loved ones that you have, and I think that is still a key factor from the way we think for the relationship. But it definitely is a little bit more easier because we're growing and we're trying to make life easier together.
Religion has played a huge role in how divorce is actually viewed. Should a person's mental stability come first, even if it goes against their religious beliefs?
I'm going to say that's a resounding yes.
Yeah.
100%. And even if it's not just going against their religious beliefs, like I firmly believe you should put your mental health and ability to function above other people as well. Like if you're not in a good situation, you need to get out of it, and you have every right to do that.
I think it's a balance. I think that today, religion, we kind of, what's the word? Let me take a second to think about that and then come back to me.
I mean, I completely agree with you, so I have nothing further to add.
Staying in an unhealthy partnership can be extremely dangerous or even deadly. Could this be a valid reason for the increase in divorce rates?
I think the awareness of people who are like battered women or things like that, I think the awareness and help for those people is very important, and that's definitely risen. So I would say that's part of the reason, but also simply because people are more set on their happiness. And I think that's pretty important too.
At this time, we have to take one more break. Please stay tuned, and we have a little more to talk about.
All right, it's time for our second trivia question. True or false? Well-off couples earning $250,000 to $550,000 per year are happier than less wealthier couples, those who earn $20,000 per year. Find out when we get back from break.
All your professors, all of them, they know that all it takes is one dreamer with passion, one person, and they hope in each of you that you might be that one who makes a longer-lasting light bulb, who writes music for the ages, who reaches into the mind and discovers a new star, and who can change the world of a fifth grader. We're gathered here to hope in you.
Hey guys, the answer to that last question is false. The rich couples surveyed were less likely to be happy than those with less money. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Welcome back to Generation Gap. We were able to touch on many different topics having to do with love. At this time, I would like for my panel to touch on any key points or anything that stuck out for them.
I think that, in my opinion, online relationships really depends on the person, with the saying, to each their own. And I feel like college relationships in general, we want things quick now, and we're losing a lot of values in face-to-face relationships because of technology. And I also feel like with divorce rate being higher, I think we value tradition less in today's society than we once did.
See, I disagree with that because I read, I can't remember where, but that the 50% divorce rate, it's not that 50% of all marriages fail, it's 50% of new marriages. So to just throw out a statistic like, oh, 1 in 2 people are going to get divorced, that's just not true. And I think that's kind of a big problem with our culture, is that we're so latched onto this, oh, everyone's getting divorced now, that we're not thinking about, well, why did you get married in the first place? Like,
Right.
if we don't have that pressure, you just won't get married.
Right.
But
For me, I think the common thread that I saw throughout all of the topics was maturity level and your ability to handle it. So I think with online relationships, college and dating, divorce rates, I think they all tie into whether or not you are able to handle an online relationship, dating while you're in college, and whether or not you're at the maturity level to be able to tie yourself to someone else for the rest of your life. You know, so I think that was the common vein that I saw.
yeah, I do think that is really important. Like, maturity is the biggest thing in being in a relationship. It's not just you, it's you and someone else.
Right.
And you need to take both your feelings and theirs into account when you're doing the math and seeing if this is really going to work out.
Right.
Exactly.
At this point in time in our lives, I believe that balance is a big key to a lot of components, relationships, and everything that we have going on for ourselves in life right now. We feel we have to be selfish because we do. This is our future right now that we're growing towards. And when it comes to relationships, you know, we just have to be able to balance everything evenly.
What advice would you give a college student that is actually considering a committed relationship?
I think that really the biggest thing it comes down to is just people just be yourself. You don't have to try to be something you're not for something that you're looking for. Just be yourself, and there's a lot of people around us right now that have the same values and think the same way that we do. So just be yourself.
I think my piece of advice would be to take this time to be a little bit selfish, you know, make decisions that you want to make, do things that you want to do, don't make your decisions based on what someone else wants, and, you know, live life. It's your time.
I think definitely what I have to say is if you are in an abusive relationship, get out. Really talk to your friends, talk to someone. If you can't do it, get out. It's not worth it, I promise you. It's really not. It's not worth everything that you have gone through. It's just not.
You might feel that you don't have the people there with you right then and there because of how much attention the person received in that relationship that might have been abusive. But there is so many people and helpful advice and people and resources that we can go to today for your benefit.
Yeah, the Alice Paul House on campus is a very important resource because they really do help people a lot. And if you have time, volunteer there. If you don't, just support them in any way you can.
I think you should support them and friends around you and make sure that they're still being themselves and you don't notice anything different from them. Or people in general that you see, make sure that the people are happy around you.
Yeah, and I think that's really important when you get into a relationship, knowing what you're getting into and the boundaries that you have. And if someone tries to cross those, you need to have a serious conversation about where your boundaries are and what you're willing to put up with.
Communication is key.
What advice would you give to someone that is possibly considering marriage or even divorce?
If you are in love for the right reasons, I think you should definitely get married if you guys are yourself and the relationship is great. When it comes to celebrities, I feel like we set the bar too high for celebrities and we think that they're not human and that they're perfect and they're not going to make mistakes. But we really shouldn't idle them for that. Like, they are humans, they're going to make mistakes. We should just like look at them like they got there for a reason. And you know, they're themselves and we are ourselves too. We can be different.
All right, yeah, I know I sound really jaded, and I'll accept that. I sound jaded. But I think if you are in a relationship that is healthy, is good, is great, then do it.
Definitely.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Generation Gap. I'm your host, Taylor J. Good night.